right, it's a brand new day again. And if you're watching this video, it was actually recorded yesterday. And I was just FaceTiming with the little mini celebrity Chippy. He is so freaked out. He loves coming here, absolutely loves it. Apparently he's at home, he talks about bear hunting with Uncle Steve and all the goofy things we do here in the monster truck when he's at home in Alberta. So anyway, Sarah and Chippy are climbing on a plane right now. But they've got, I don't have to leave here for another 3 hours or something. So anyway, the current website is updated. You go have a scroll in there if you want. And the quick news, I will crack this open at the end of this video, I think, with my favorite Cutco knife gift from a very special person followed the channel a couple years ago. I'll just open it real quick. I don't even know what it's gonna look like in here. But anyway, I finally got the trail camera that this trail camera company, they got a hold of me randomly, coincidentally. When you guys know my history on promoting items, right? I don't do it. I just don't do it. And here it is. The company, the manufacturer, is called Guard Pro. And what I did last fall was I was sick and tired of spending over $200 frickin' dollars in all these cameras and throwing away an average. I think I threw away 15 cameras beginning of fall 2024 that only made it a couple years. And some had real shitty audio, some had good night vision, but bad triggers, bad all sorts of stuff. And I wasn't finding the complete camera that covered it all. And I finally got frustrated and I rolled the dice, and I think I bought, I don't know, 20 new cameras last year, all brands I'd never even heard of before. I just threw the dice. And everything from, I think the cheapest one I bought was $60 or something, all the way up to $190. And coincidentally, I finally found a camera that was absolutely perfect. And I've been using cameras a long time. Anyways, it was Guard Pro. And here they are. They sent me a camera and some other stuff, and I'll go over that later on. I just cracked open the box first time, but I already have tried their camera. I don't need to give it a trial. That's why I'm here now agreeing to promote it, because I've never ever shared any trail camera any time in the past because they've all frustrated me to the max. And I finally found one. Unreal. And it's not super expensive. Crazy, right? But I'll go over that at the end of this video, right? For those of you who were curious. Because I have a discount code. It's in the website. My website, howtohunt.com. There's a discount code there. If you're interested in getting these cameras. I'll go over that at the end, alright? Now, emails. Recent. This is a long one. I know sometimes people get freaked out that I read their email right away. It just happens sometimes every few days. I go into the recent inbox and I gotta go search for the people that I'm waiting as well, right? Now again, I think I went on a bit of a rant yesterday, didn't I? But how can you? So again, everything that is done here is absolutely dead serious, very serious. You know what I mean? This isn't entertainment. This is a very real truth that's going on alongside of us. It's not going away. It's real. And we're spreading the word. That's why we're here. All right? That's why we're here, because the majority of the human herd is too scared to talk about truth. We're not. I'm definitely not. So keep that in mind, everyone. This isn't about entertainment. That's for sure. This topic is brought here because of frustration. Once you get slapped with this truth, there's no escaping it. The club and no return, right? All right, I'll bite my lip. Listen to this. What do we got? Steve, it's Thomas again. I wrote in and finally shared my experience with you, and you read my email the very next day. I couldn't believe it. I was almost positive that it would be weeks before anyone heard it. I was fearful that most would hear such an experience and call me a liar. In fact, the opposite took place in the comments and with you. It was such an eye-opener of a response, and I can't thank you all enough. since I typed my experience and sent it to you. I've never felt more freeing of such a weight loss off my shoulders. Oh, no kidding. That's good to hear. Thank you, How to Hunt family. Some questions in the comments got me wanting to add a thing or two that I didn't mention. Plus, I need more of the story in the comments section about the 3 bipedal wolves that was being fed by a commenter's daughter. What? Let's hope they bring this to light through email. Anyway, I also had another experience that took place when I was around 9 years old. It's what the title of this email means, and I want to share it. But first, here's a conversation that took place on the way home with Fred, Ed, and I. Oh, okay, so this is the man that videotaped the Sasquatch interacting with these guys. Obviously, this isn't the real names of the 2 guys I was with, but I did say the real names in the comment section. Oh, no shit. I'm going to continue using Fred and Ed while it's being read online just for privacy reasons of that day. Obviously, we spoke about what took place. I'm going to tell you, word for word, what I remember. Everything else will be basically the gist of what was said. On the way home, we talked about the smell of the 2 Sasquatch. We couldn't shake the smell they carried. It seemed to follow us all the way home. In the truck, me and Ed were just stunned and shocked, mixed with being shook. Fred was happy, like he was waiting for this day a long time. Somewhere in the convo, I mentioned, quote, "How rich are we going to be?" end quote. Fred says something like, "We're not going to speak of this. No one will believe it. Most will just ridicule you." I think he was speaking from experience. And that's when I said something like, "Well, we'll just show them the tape." Fred said, "What?" They had no idea I was recording because I never acted like I was. Normally when recording, you hold the camera up to your face. They probably didn't even notice the camcorder because of the excitement around us. I told them, I recorded the whole thing. Ed was so happy that he started to jump back in the back seat and tackle me with excitement. No doubt thinking that we were going to be famous. Who wants to be famous? Sorry. Fred stopped the truck and said, "My recorder, my tape, give it to me." He even told me how lucky I was that the male didn't realize that he was being recorded. I said, I don't think he would have known the difference. He yelled at me and said, "You see them once. Now you're the expert, right?" He told me that, quote, "There's way more to these people than you know." He said, "I don't think they originate from here, if you know what I'm saying." I asked for a copy of the tape, and we really didn't know how to run a VCR, let alone make a copy of a tape, so that didn't happen. It was 1997, and we didn't know much about Bigfoot then. I'd say pretty close to that time is when Bigfoot started picking up traction. Pun intended. I've never put a thought into Bigfoot before this. Now is a different story. When we get home, I ask to watch the tape. He sets up the recorder to the VCR and hits play. Immediately, Fred says, "Oh my God, you recorded me and Ed." Not on purpose, I said. Not on purpose, I said. Fred says, "But damn, look how big he is." Talking about the male Sasquatch. And then he got upset and grabbed the tape and he said, "We can't show this. It's too big of a risk. I'm worried about the wrong people finding out who we are." He took the tape to his room and he didn't come back out. And later on, Ed told me he put the tape in his mom's attic, away from the trailer park. From what I recorded and little we watched, it was evident that they both were captured on tape and up close. The size of the male was captured along with what looked like his 4 to 5 foot chest in width. And his huge, kind of odd-shaped feet, and the fact he was a male was also in the video, and he had us laughing a bit. Made old Fred blush, I think, LOL. You would have liked Fred, Steve, a no-nonsense kind of guy like you. Maybe a little more private, but still a good man who loves to hunt. The female was in the shot. The female was in the shot to kneeling. I recorded approximately 6 minutes and watched probably 30 seconds together. A couple days later, Fred also said if the chopper seen the 2 Sasquatch and us, then expect an unwanted and unpleasant visit from the assholes. From some assholes. I asked Fred how he knew the Bigfoot would be there, and he said he didn't know. He thought they had moved on. I asked him how many times did he meet them, and was it always in the same place? He said he came across the male and the family years ago, the same place. He said the first time seeing the male, he had seen about 5 of them crossing the clearing, ranging in size from 4 feet to about 10 feet tall. A whole family. He had left them what he had in the truck. What? He had left them what he had in the truck, like a watch and his lunch? Leaving gifts he thought was a one-time thing. Never did he imagine this, he said. He told his then-girlfriend and his dad what happened, and apparently they acted in a way that made him cautious towards us and keeping the tape private. Anyway, he returned the next day and found they had left him a couple rocks and a broken mirror piece. He said he interacted with them on 3 occasions, other than today, so 4 total. Normally when it's just him, he said, minus Ed and I, they are more verbal. They laugh. They try and show him wood knocking or long-range communication. I also asked if he was visited by government officials. He said no, but they were parked by the entrance of the gate one time, so they know the Sasquatch are in the area. I sensed deception in that response, though. I do believe he was talked to from these men in black people. Why else would he be so paranoid, you know? Well, there you have it. That concludes my experience of that day and a couple days following. Now I'm going to get right into my other experience that took place on the same hill just a few miles north and behind my house. I live in a different place than that trailer park. This is nowhere near as exciting or long, but definitely more odd. It had just done raining, and my brothers and I, Jason and Todd, went looking in the woods behind our house for toads or bullfrogs. We had a creek or brook, whatever y'all want to call it, in the backyard. Salamanders and crabs took a liking to the area, but this day we wanted a frog. So we head away from the creek and headed into the woods. And on the way, my youngest brother, age 5, got stuck in a briar bush, very thorny. We're trying to free him, and I felt like we were being watched. And sure as shit we were. I scanned the woods, and let me set the scene. Very tall, skinny trees sporadically planted. The leaves and treetops are very high up. About 30 yards away, I see a head of a male Indian sticking out from behind the tree, except it was about 15 feet up, and the tree couldn't hide me behind it. It was that skinny. Jason and Todd looked up and said, "Who's that?" I take off. I was gone. I yell, "I'm going to go get Mom," and as I turn to tell Jason to stay with Todd, he's behind me crying and yelling, "We'll be back." Then I hear Todd screaming and crying, "Help." I told him we'll be back. So we bolt to the house. We go to tell Mom what we'd seen and that Todd is stuck in the woods. She tells us to get Todd and stop playing. Dinner's almost ready. I start flipping out now and telling her we need help. So she starts putting her shoes on, so me and Jason run back down, and as we get to where the path is that leads to Todd, he calmly comes walking out from the path like nothing happened. He didn't look like he was crying or upset at all. He said he looked up, and whatever was behind the tree was gone. Then I freed myself from the bush. He was bloody from the bush, and Mom gave him a quick look over, and then Mom said, "See, you play too many games now. Come in, dinner's ready." Steve, I swear to Christ, all 3 of us acknowledged that something behind a tree was watching us that looked like an Indian. We still talk about what happened, and it's unexplainable so far. We agree it didn't look like a Bigfoot behind a tree, but it was tall, hid behind a skinny tree. Human, Indian-looking face, very ominous. And that's it. That's my experiences from the outdoors in full. All truth. If you diversify your channel one day, Steve, I got 2 ghost stories for you. One happened 3 weeks ago. The other one I was a child. I hope someone gets a puzzle piece from this. Hell, I'm still working on this puzzle with the Indian 36 years later. I'll email again if I ever find Fred or Ed. Thanks for the outlet. Love the How to Hunt beanies, by the way. I'm going to get one later. Okay, there you go. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, you know what? I mean, you know what? I get upset about people not producing something. I don't need it. But, you know, obviously the majority of the people here are probably going to be like, here we go again. Another claim of a clear photo or video, and it's not delivered. Is what it is. That would be something else to see. I mean, come on, man. That would be absolutely amazing for every single human on the face of the planet to see one of these people standing next to a human man. Right? Now, I don't know anything about hunting down people. I wonder if, I don't know where you guys are. I wonder if, here's a thought for you. Here's a thought. Because I don't think any of us are versed in how to track down people from their previous residence, right? But I'm willing to bet if you possibly contacted a private investigator, maybe got him to sign some kind of absolute confidential piece of paper. Don't tell him why you're looking for these guys. Just tell him they're childhood friends. Maybe you got some inheritance for him or something. Don't even mention what the topic's about. And see how much it is. See how easy and how much it is. Maybe he'll ask you roughly what you know of their names, whereabouts, family members, where they used to live. And maybe they have access to something on computers in the system on how to track somebody down. You never know. And then see how much it is. And if you are interested in pulling that off, email me. We'll see how much it is. And we'll do a little bit of a minor crowdfunding if it's a few bucks that you may not have. And maybe the people here will be interested in throwing down a few bucks to hire a professional to track these guys down and see what they got to say. And if you do get a hold of these guys, show them this channel. And let them know that their privacy would be absolutely respected. No names, no location, just the plain visual, even stills from it. Who gives a shit? And it's easy to get it reproduced. I've got stuff here to reproduce VHS tapes. I've got everything. But obviously we're on the other side of the continent. But there's a lot of people that we trust in the United States that can make a duplicate of that, or we can walk you through it. It's pretty simple, really. Interesting, right? Obviously, we never hold our breath, right? You can't hold your breath from the past, from our past contacts here who have shared what they've seen, what they have in their possession, but they just don't seem to want to give it up. I mean, I understand the video that I have in my possession. It's 100%. It comes out, and this guy's still employed with where he is. It's going to cause a whole lot of hurt and bad for him. So I'm sure it'll come out, but I'm not the one to say when, but it will come out. Just so you guys know, there is some unbelievable video footage that cannot be duplicated. And it's pretty fascinating. You bump into me in person, I'll show it to you, as usual. Now, moving along. But anyways, sorry, getting back to my little ramble-bamble there. For you, maybe you have I don't know. I don't even know. I've never approached a private investigator. I would imagine you probably get your first half an hour free or whatever it is, like a lawyer, right? And just say, hey, I got to track down a couple of people from my past. I have something. It's just very of importance. No malicious anything. And what would it take to find them? What kind of time and how much would you charge? It's pretty simple. And let us know. Let me know your... what you think about that, or if you pursue it, and we'll take it from there. Okay, man? Appreciate you sharing your emails. That's pretty incredible. Next. Hello, Steve and crew. I'm friends with several of the game rangers here. And one of them, I'm trying to get to post here. He does watch your videos, and he gave me permission to tell you one of his stories. If you wish to read it, this is what he told me. Quote, "This story is different from my other sightings. A few years back, I was putting in about 12 hours a day. See, we were short-handed back then. Now we were having a lot of sightings and issues, so we would lock the gates to certain areas before dark. Well, I was pretty tired, as I'm not a young man anymore, so I pulled into the equestrian camp under the large tree there for a quick nap. I really did not feel safe driving. Well, I set a clock and closed my eyes, and I don't know how long I was out, but I felt something touching my chest. I opened my eyes to see a big, black, hairy arm reaching into my truck through my open window. I did not feel scared, which has never happened before. And as I watched, he took my lunch cooler and pulled it out the window. Now, you know I'm a smartass, so I asked him to return my cooler when he was done. I pulled out and went home. And as I turned off the truck and started to get out, that's when everything hit me all at once. I began to shake and my knees buckled. I was not afraid. It was a rather odd feeling and not sure how to explain it. Well, I got myself under control and I went to bed. The next morning, as I was preparing to go back out to the park, I noticed there in the back of my truck was my cooler. The lid was not on it, but beside it. Now, this is his story, not mine, and he has a bunch of them. I'm trying to get him and 2 others to post to you themselves, and I know this one watches your channel. He also said any ranger who says the big men do not exist is flat out lying. He was one of my dad's close friends, and he and I developed a friendship ourselves. Thank you for your time. Oklahoma Dude, a.k.a. Chas Brown, and yes, you can use my name now. Okay, Chas, appreciate that, man. And to you, Mr. Ranger. Ruby Dog, see somebody. The main shop door is open, and she's on her lead out there. On guard, chewing her bone. Anyways, quick note to you guys, the Rangers. You've got a whole bunch of shit racked up in your memory of experiences, and if you want, you can come on here and talk to me publicly. Unless you're still employed and you think that may screw you up with your employment. Or we could even, it's just a thought. You know what I mean? But if you'd like to, we could just do a phone call. I'll put the phone right here by the speaker and let her rip our video, and I'll just blacking out your image. Because I think Mike the Rancher, he's just going to be able to come on here with audio. He's technically challenged at home, like most of us are. But if you guys want to do that, let's do it. Email me, all right? Or not. Or not. But if you want to share your experiences, I'm all over it, like a fat kid on a Smartie. And also, what I am more curious about is what you guys are told from the so-called authorities above you. Right? What are you guys told firsthand? Is there some kind of route you're all supposed to take when it comes to taking in these reports? What would happen if you shared them? What would happen if you acknowledged that to the person that, yeah, you know, they're real? What would happen to you? Who is it that threatens? Why? Anything. Anything you've got on the knowledge of why we're being lied to is a big question mark for me. And tens of thousands of other people here. I mean, obviously, you're following the channel. You know how many people know. The cat's out of the bag. The cat's absolutely out of the bag. And at the same time, that cat is out of the bag, meaning these people are here beside us in the forest. The same time, the cat's out of the bag that currently all of our leaders are lying, filthy, dirty sons of bitches. That cat's out of the bag playing in our face too, right? So why give another human being that kind of respect to be able to intimidate you into not saying shit? That really bugs me, and I don't get that either. But I'm not in the position where somebody can harm me in a way, threaten to take away my job. They can't do it. They can't intimidate me. I'm not scared to death either, so okay, I will stop babbling. But there you go. Get a hold of me. If you don't, that's fine too. Absolutely appreciate the tidbit you did share today, all right? Thank you so much. What do we have here? 6 unexplainable experiences. Only 6. Dear Steve, we've been listening to your channel for 5 years now. We live in a city in the lower mainland. Well, that'll be British Columbia, I'm guessing. We have 6 unexplainable experiences to share. I think we've kept our stories succinct, proofread, and punctuated. Checked, LOL. Yeah, but that doesn't help me. I'm kidding. Doesn't matter how good it is, I'll screw it up, right? Firstly, we have acreage and enjoy spending time outdoors on our property. But one evening we heard what sounded like a woman being murdered, coming from the nature trail several hundred yards away. We waited, but we heard nothing else. Looking back on it, it was far too loud to be human. And around the same time, we had a couple over for a fireside visit. We've been sharing stories, and we talked about your channel with our friends. The guys went inside to make drinks while the girls sat by the fire. While we were talking, our friend's wife jumped, startled, and whipped around in her chair. I asked her what was wrong, and she said something touched her. I was facing her the whole time, and I saw nothing. She was rattled by the experience for the rest of the evening. No doubt, telling hairy giants of the forest stories in the dark around the campfire, and somebody gets touched. I mean, what's the frickin' chances, right? With a perfect setup to send 50 volts through her spine, which she'll never forget. Our daughter and her partner were outside by the fire stargazing, and she comes inside and says, I don't know how to explain this except to say, the stars are moving. We all go outside to see a very high up in the sky, very bright lights are moving intelligently. Some would zoom across the sky to meet up with another and then shoot off and disappear. Others were grouped in a triangular formation. At any given time, there were a dozen or more interacting. No, they were not drones, as they were high above the aircraft flight level. Our whole family witnessed this for 30 minutes before they all disappeared in a flash. When we were visiting family outside of Williams Lake, we witnessed a couple of unusual bright lights in the night sky. While watching them, they moved in patterns, circles, horizontally, vertically, etc. My husband has a very bright flashlight, so he made shapes with his light beam. These lights copied him several times. Whoa. Again, we were out in the back country, and this was not a drone, as it was up above the flight paths. This copycat game went on for 20 minutes before they shot off into the sky. One man said the locals see these types of lights quite often. Well, here's my husband's story. I was standing out in our lower yard one night around 10:30 p.m., late July, August 2021, speaking with a business associate, each of us enjoying a cigar. The yard we were standing in is approximately 1 acre in size, all gravel and surrounded by very tall, dense trees on all sides, which block out all the light, even casting shadows on already black space. There's no lights at all in this area of our property. And this evening, the yard is extremely dark with a crisp, clear night sky, visible stars. However, the moon was not within our vantage point. We stood facing each other, chatting, when I witnessed a large, orange, glowing object appear up in the sky above and behind my associate's left shoulder. When I say appeared, I mean that one moment it was not there, and then it was just there, hanging in the sky. It looked exactly like the shape of an old English street gas lantern. It had a total of 6 see-through surfaces, a bottom, a top, and 4 vertical sides. Sorry, I got my phone on airplane, but all of a sudden a text blasts up on my laptop. Sorry. It looked exactly like the shape of an old English street gas lantern. It had a total of 6 see-through surfaces, a bottom, a top, and 4 vertical sides. The square top was larger than the square bottom, and all of the 4 vertical sides slanting on angle from the top towards the smaller bottom. If you now imagine this type of an old lantern, all glass and you can see into it, the inside was very bright orange, glowing material, and I could see 4 upright, slanted corners distinctly shining
a darker red color, just like bars of red-hot steel rod. This lantern-shaped vehicle was the size of a 1,500 square foot house and was hovering silently at an altitude of approximately 250 to 300 feet above the ground and somewhere around 600 to 800 feet, a line of sight away from us. I pointed up into the sky and told my associate to look. He turned around to his left and immediately saw it, as it was impossible to miss with its intense glow. We stood there in awe, watching it hang in space for around 3 minutes, and then it just shot off with lightning speed from standstill as a streak of light and just vanished. Wow. Lastly, our daughter and her partner were down in our valley by our creek playing chess. A skunk was moving towards the fence line. They stopped to watch it, as they didn't want the skunk to come any closer to them. And as it got close to the fence, they saw a shimmer. And the skunk moved through the chain link fence and disappeared. They couldn't believe what they saw, so they went over to the fence to check if the skunk had burrowed under it, or if the hole cut, or if there was a hole cut in the chain link. Nothing was amiss. Later that week, our son had a couple of guys over for a meeting with my husband. They were down in the valley on the same deck. My husband and one guest witnessed a rabbit do the exact same thing. It hopped towards the same spot on the fence line, disappearing into a shimmer. They could not believe their eyes. Our daughter's account matched my husband's exactly. If what they saw was a portal, maybe its existence near the creek isn't coincidental. There is much more going on than our eyes can see, and certainly other dimensions that we are starting to tap into. It would seem there's some truth to what we thought were make-believe stories of little people, dogman, portals, etc. And I believe we've been visited by beings from other planets for thousands of years. Just like in our earthly society, many are good and some are bad. I think humans on Earth are the junior species, with clearly far advanced civilizations that are probably helping us. I'm also putting my puzzle pieces together since having other experiences which I can't explain. Thanks for providing this channel as a gathering place to share and a safe, supportive space. We can definitely learn from each other. Warm regards, Trisha and Dave. Okay, man. Absolutely appreciate the time you just took out to throw down to the gang here. Yeah, that's the only way we can learn, obviously, right? It's the only way we can learn is by talking with each other. That's it. There's no other frickin' way, right? I mean, obviously trial and error as an individual going through life, but now that we know what we know, we are so full of bullshit intentionally. I expressed my frustration yesterday quite clearly, I believe. So, but yeah, I came to a conclusion quite some time ago. This is the only way. This is the way we're doing it right now. Well, for me, this is the only way for me. Take from what you will, leave it. But where we screwed up in life is somehow placing one human right there in front of us to be the so-called authority. That's where we royally screwed up on our, possibly on keeping our true history, and obviously where we screwed up on getting true knowledge, and obviously on how to be a true, free, living human being and experience every single awesome thing we can while we're here. Right? It's all connected. It all affects everything in one way or another. But you're right. Nailed it. This is the only way. It's the only way. Nobody gets special attention. Nobody's the authority. We don't have to be members of some frickin' group over there. Do you know what I mean? People looking because somebody's a celebrity, right? Well, look what that's got a lot of people, right? Worshipping celebrities. I wonder how many people wish they didn't worship Diddy, right? As an example, I shouldn't even laugh. Anyway, appreciate it, man. Keep me posted. I'm actually going to tap in. So I don't know how long ago that was you first noticed all those lights in the sky ripping all over the place, but 2 years ago, maybe 3. Yeah, probably 2. It was the same fall, same trip, I believe, when I had my knife returned to me in my backpack. And that friend who was with me there, we were in camp, crisp, no moon night, clear. You could see every single star. And we're sitting there, and I have seen weird things in the sky in the past. But it's never caused me any anxiety. But we're sitting there looking up, I'm like, holy shit, look at that. We're just watching the Starlink, alleged Starlink satellites going by. The other satellites going by. But then all of a sudden you see this other light, stop, hanging 90. I'm like, holy shit, you see that? And there's another one, and another one, and another one. And I think, I don't remember exactly how many. It was over a dozen different of these things in the sky ripping around all over the place. Like really darting back and forth and going here and there. And that's the first time I felt anxiety, like, holy shit, we're watching that. And I remember one of my initial thoughts was, I hope they're not coming down right here. Crazy, right? It's the first time. I'll never forget that. It was amazing. Probably watched for 10 or 15 minutes. And then they all just dispersed. And that's probably 2 years ago. Was that 2 years ago I got my night back, I think? And then, so that would have put me west Alaska Highway and north of Fort St. John. That's all I'm going to say, right? I am so protective of where I go in the woods. It's not even funny. I mean, people ran into me in the woods. That's fine. Fair game, but I don't advertise where I go. Now, moving along. Okay, I'm going to have to, unfortunately, this will be the one time I'm going to have to pre-read this. It's very long. It seems a little confusing because it's second edition 2024 season. Steve, read the first edition. All right. I'll read that on my own first, and then I'll read it just to make sure, because it's nothing more frustrating to me sometimes when people say, read this, don't read that, then read that, don't read that. And I can't do that smoothly on here because I don't pre-read shit. I don't decide what you guys can or can't hear. I don't, obviously. Unlike how many other places that have done that to the people, right? Right? Oh, we're not going to share that. But make sure you report your experiences to us, and we'll decide what you really saw, and we might have to change your story a little bit. Right? That still makes me upset, but in the beginning, I was on fire with that, man. When you realize just how much guts it takes for somebody to work up the courage to come forward, especially with a stranger with a huge website, finally share their experience only to get shit on and have their experience changed or hidden. That's a punch in the mouth 50 times in a row sentence there, right? And maybe six kicks in the nuts. That is such a violation. All right, I'll shut my mouth. Cloaked Sabe. Other unexplainable occurrences. Second email attempt. All right, what do you got? You made it through. Hello, Steve and the Howd Hunt family. I've listened to your Sabe email since 2019. I, too, have had horses most of my life. Many times I've walked in a pasture with loose horses and have been buzzed by them. Kind of like a horse version of chicken. Of course, I could hear it, or them coming, but I never looked around. I just let them race by me. Usually the horse or horses would trot back to me for pets or treats, and this is important to the experience that I had. In November 2019, on a very still snowy day, I went for a walk in Hardy Lake Provincial Park, Gravenhurst, Ontario. It was pre-pandemic, and all the cottages and city folk were gone. I was alone. I started on the short 3-kilometer trail from the parking lot beside a busy local highway. And as soon as I entered the forest, all sounds stopped. I felt uneasy and picked up my pace. And all of a sudden, I felt something racing up behind me and lots of pressure. It seemed to be coming from quite a distance, 100 meters, right up to my shoulder blade. And as I turned to look, the pressure and invisible entity would back off. to its original starting point. I kept walking quickly. There were probably a dozen more silent pressure trips up to my back. The forest was completely silent, and I saw nothing, and there were no tracks. I thought about turning around and going back, but the message in my head was, don't. I kept going on the well-marked trail, and soon the forest sounds returned. Crazily enough, I finished the 3-kilometer hike, ending back at my car in the parking lot. I was tempted to go back into the start of the trail to see if this would happen again, but I decided against it. I tried to tell some of the local people that I knew. One person believed me. One person told me it was an ermine. That's why I couldn't see it. And the rest just shook their heads and said, I had a vivid imagination. Oh, to be born so dumb, right? In September 2020, I was out horseback riding with another lady south of Gravenhurst on a very warm and sunny day around 9 a.m. There was a large, approximately 70-foot high and 400-meter long granite ridge sparsely covered in evergreens. As we rode along the edge of the hayfield, an owl started to hoot. The hoots were very loud and seemed to be at least 200 meters away from us. The other lady said she'd never heard an owl hoot like that in daylight. The hooting continued for around 10 minutes off and on, and then it stopped. The horses paid no attention. In August 2021, I moved to the Bancroft, Ontario area. The very first night I spent in my new house, I hear 3 loud wood knocks at 3 a.m. in the ravine beside the house. I never heard anything like that again. The last unusual occurrence was on a summer day in Bancroft. I had made a mid-morning trip to the dump, and upon my return, there was a dead raven gently placed in the center of my driveway beside a very busy highway. It was on its back, wings folded neatly around its body like it was placed there by caring hands. I did have a lot of ravens at the house that I fed. It was just weird. Okay, there you go. Bancroft and Hardy Lake Provincial Park, Gravenhurst, Ontario. So there you go. If you are from there and you know what's going on, you've been sitting here waiting to see if your area might come up, it just came up. So, let's see what you got. If that's enough to knee-jerk you into emailing us what's been going down in your hood. All right, so the next one I just pulled up here is a frickin' book again. So I'm going to save that till tomorrow, I guess, all right? Well, there you go. That should be enough to chew on for another day. Let's see what comes from Fred and Ed. Let's see what comes from our game Ranger. And we'll hope that these guys get a hold of us, right? And keep this ball rolling. It's kind of good. It's relieving to see still today. I mean, how many people have been watching your channel for a while? We just finally decided to share. Right? So many. I wonder how many people. Maybe I should do one of those poll things on the YouTube channel. I am very, very curious to know how many people just hang out here silent in the back bleachers watching and listening. And meanwhile, excuse me, who knows what they got, what they've seen, what they have in their possession. You know what I mean? Just sitting there quiet. Just sitting there quiet, watching the videos, listening to everyone speak through me, and knowing what's up. And then finally one day they get knee-jerked into sharing with us here. I wonder how many of you are sitting out there right now. I'd be really curious to know that number. No pressure. Even if you never do share, that's fine, as long as you're here knowing that you're not alone, right? That's a very big, important part of this channel, too. As long as you're here knowing you're not alone. Now, that's the end of the emails. Let's see. I gotta see what these guys sent me. When it comes to the trail camera that I fell in love with, first time ever in my life, except for the very first camera I ever had, which now is a piece. So here's it's just a small box. Bravo for them for not going over the top with packaging like everybody else. There's the camera. And instructions are it's a no-brainer. I think they also send your typical strap, the tree strap, which I don't use these at all because it stands out like a sore thumb. I use very strong commercial fishing twine myself. The typical stuff that comes with it. Now, this camera, I think the ones I have are camouflage, I think. Maybe they're not. Same old shit, it's just a trail camera with the a little cover plate that holds the batteries in, which is handy, right? How many times have they fallen out when you're whipping the camera open, it's freezing cold? Pick up your batteries out of the snow. Done that I don't know how many times. Oops. But that's it. That's the camera. Now, I don't need to try it out and review it because I already have acres of video footage. I'll share it right here as I'm babbling away, all right? But what they did send me, what I don't have, is a solar panel. Now, pros and cons with a solar panel for me. I mean, I've never tried. I'm going to try it out. I'll try this out. I might even try it out here. But here's a solar panel that comes with it. New to me. The only thing that would bother me, for me and my use, is this is just even more of an item to catch somebody's eye. Because when I'm hiding my trail cameras, I'm making them, I put them above. I'll get a mounting bracket here for the tree for the solar panel. I'll give that a go and see how long it lasts. But the reality is, too, the length of battery life on trail cameras these days is incredible. But I'll give that a go, for sure. And that means I will probably, if it can have a solar panel and it works, then I will put a massive SD card in there. Because I only record videos myself, and then I'll take stills off of that. But why did I fall in love with that camera? You can see the videos. The night vision is huge. You know, like I had these other ones, Moultrie, I think. They're pretty good. But the night vision absolutely sucked. Very narrow, like a tiny spot flashlight, and I'd have bucks going by. You can see their feet clearly at the side of the body, and you could barely make out their headgear. Very frustrating. But those cameras seem to last long. The trigger worked fairly well, I think, but even though it doesn't matter the camera, I always put 2 to 3 different cameras in the same spot that I know is an important spot to me, and every single camera would miss. Every one of them. I've never had a camera with a group of cameras when they all caught the same object traveling in front of them. It was amazing. It's amazing. But these suckers here, I had these Guard Pros. I had 2 Guard Pros and a Bushnell on this one grain pile. The Bushnell barely got anything. Drives me bonkers. But Bushnell has great night vision flash. That's about it. Their audio sucks ass. There's always a weird mechanical whir going on in the background. And that's why when I came across this camera, the night vision was incredible. The audio was frickin' off the chart. And then if you remember earlier, I posted up a video of what the hell was that because a small object about that big all of a sudden came ripping kind of towards the camera from I don't know how many yards away, and it triggered the camera way before the object hit the camera. I was like, holy shit, no way. It looked like that object might have been about that big. And it triggered from that object. How far was that? Where it looks like it originated at least past 15 yards. So that made me go, wow. And the clarity of the night vision, the clarity of the daytime, the audio, the trigger, and these cameras didn't miss anything. And they were half the price of the other cameras that I've been buying thousands of dollars worth of those suckers for the past I don't know how many years. So anyway, there you go. Coincidentally, Guard Pro got a hold of me after I used their cameras to see if I wanted to partner up. Isn't that funny? Because I have people email me. Well, I don't know, it's probably 2 or 3 or 5 emails every single day from every kind of product you could think of. People ask me if I'll partner up, and I just don't, I'm not into it. But this I'm into. But I've also, as well, I've never promoted anything in the past. Why? Well, because they don't promote me. Right? So there you go. Guard Pro. That is my very first trail camera I've ever come across that I felt I wanted to scream out and tell all my friends about. And that is the truth. This isn't a... They sent me some ideas of how to make a promo video. I'm like, no, I don't follow scripted shit. I'm going to tell the people the truth. If you suck, it sucks. If it doesn't suck, it doesn't suck. And I'm going to tell you guys how I came across it and what I did with it. But there you go. So they gave me a discount code. And I have that on my website, howtohunt.com. You can check out, there's a new page there for the trail camera. There's a discount code there and a link to get one of these cameras if you want one. If not, who gives a shit? Whatever, there it is. I shared it, all right? But that is by far the best trail camera I have used to date. Hands down. And it also caught that, remember those bull elk I caught on the river? Fighting with each other? Same camera, right? Same camera. That huge, monstrous Roosevelt elk in the nighttime? Same camera. Audio was incredible. Night vision was incredible. Daytime is clear as a bell. I'm all over it. There you go. First time ever. Shared a product. Huh. How many years did that take? Funny, huh? Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. Chippy's going to be here, my little co-partner. I don't know what Sarah's got left in her store. I think she has to get more decals, stickers. All these toques I've got. Well, I stole a few. I've got these ones here. The orange one and the gray one and the mossy oak and the real tree for the spring turkey hunting. I'm thinking that's on that note. I'm thinking nonstop about Alabama and heading down. I can't wait. Just throw the dice on who I'm going to fly with, right? Hopefully, Delta used to be my favorite frickin' airliner, too. It's nerve-wracking jumping on a plane these days. Holy shit. Even when we were flying out of Bangkok, I didn't tell Sarah, but the day before, there was a Russian passenger jet that had to fly 3 hours above the airport to burn off their fuel before they landed because something was screwed with their landing gear, too. It's just endless, right? Anyway, I'm rambling. Share my story, howtohunt.com. You go visit my website, howtohunt.com. There's just a little updating on there before I decide to get it completely rebuilt from somebody on here. And Sarah's store is on there. Links below, in the video description below. Yada, yada, yada. Share my story, howtohunt.com. Back later.